Good morning, students. Today's topic is meaning concept of economics. This topic's objectives are coverage of international economics, international trade, international finance, and in India and international economy. And the topic is meaning and concept of economy. And first of all, we know what is economy. Economics is a social science concerned with the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. It studies how individuals, businesses, governments, and nations make choice about how to allocate resources. The economics focuses on the actions of human beings based on assumptions that humans act with rational behavior, seeking the most optional level of benefit or utility. The building blocks of economics are the study of labor and trades. And since there are many possible applications of human labor and many different ways to acquire resources, it is the task of economics to determine which methods yield the best results. Economics can generally be broken down into macroeconomics, which concentrates on the behavior of the economy as a whole, and microeconomics, which focuses on individual people and businesses. And the economics is the study of how people allocate scarce resources for production, distribution, and consumption, both individually and collectively. Two major types of economics are macro microeconomy, which focus on the behavior of individual consumers and producers, and macroeconomy. This is the two types of economy: microeconomics and macroeconomics. Macroeconomics, which examine overall economics on a regional, national, and international scales. And the next is economics, especially concerned with efficiency in production and exchange and uses models and assumptions to understand how to create incentives and policies that will maximize efficiency. Economists formulate and publish numerous economy indicators such as gross domestic product and the consumer price index. Capitalism, socialism, and communism are types of economic system. And this picture shows economics, various types of economy, data analytic, engineering, finance, journalism, law, physics, politics, psychology, urban planning, businesses. These are the economics. And the understanding economics is one of the earliest recorded economic thinkers was the 8th century BC Greek farmer, poet Hesiod, who wrote that labor materials and time needed to be allocated efficiently to overcome scarcity. But the founding of modern Western economics occurred much later, generally credited to the publication of Scottish philosopher Adam Smith 1776 book An Inquiry into the Nature and Cause of the Wealth of Nations. The principle and the problem of economics is that human beings have unlimited wants and occupy a world of limit. Means, for this reason, the concepts of efficiency and productivity are held paramount by economists. Increased productivity and a more efficient use of resources, they argue, could lead to a higher standard of living. And despite this view, economics has been pejoratively known as the dismal science, a term coined by Scottish historian Thomas Carlyle in 1849. He used it to citizen the liberal views on race and social equality to contemporary economists like John Stuart Mill. And through though some commentators suggest Carnley was actually describing the gloomy predictions by Thomas Robert Malthus that population growth would always outstrip. the food supply, and in this picture, branches of economics. Two types of economics, micro and macroeconomics. In microeconomics, new classical free market, and development economics, environmental, behavioral, econometrics, that is math, and labor economics. And the macroeconomics in classical free market, Keynesian government intervention, Marxist state control, Austrian free market, mercantilism, protectionism, and notatorist free market and control money. These are the branches of economy. And the type of economics, the study of economics is generally broken down into two disciplines. Microeconomics focuses on how individual consumers and firms make decisions. These individuals, consumers, and firms make decisions. These individual decisions making units can be a single person, a household, a business organization, or a government agency. In the analysis, analyzing certain aspects of human behavior, microeconomics tries to explain how they respond to changes in price and why they demand what they do at particular price level. In that, microeconomics tries to explain how and why different goods are valued differently, how individuals make financial decisions, and how individuals best trade, coordinate, and cooperate with one another. And microeconomics topics range from the dynamics of supply and demand to efficiency and costs associated with producing goods and services. They also include how labor is divided and allocated, how business firms are organized and function, and how people approach uncertainty, risk, and strategic strategic game theory. and the macroeconomic studies and overall economic on both a national and international level using highly aggregate economic data and variables to model the economy. Its focus can include a distinct geographical regions, a country, a continent, or even the whole world. Its primary areas of study are recurrent economic cycles and broad economic growth and development. Topics studied include foreign trade, government, physical and monetary policy, unemployment rates, the level of inflation and interest rates, the growth of total production output as reflected by changes in the gross domestic product. This is called GDP. And business cycles that result is expansions, booms, recession, and depression. And the micro and macro economics are intertwined. Aggregate macroeconomic phenomena as obviously and literally just the sum total of microeconomic phenomena. However, these two branches are economics use very different theory, models, and research methods, which sometimes appear to conflict with each other, integrating the microeconomics foundations into macroeconomic theory. And research is a major area of study in itself from many economists. In these are the macro and microeconomic. And school of economic theory, there are many competing, conflicting, or sometimes complementary theories and schools of thought within economics. Economists employ many different methods of research from logical deduction to pure data meaning. Economic theory often progresses through deductive processes, including mathematical logic, where the implications of specific human activities are considered in a meanings and framework. This is the school of economy theory, and these theory, the this type of theory it would of economic deduce, for example, that it is more efficient for individual or company to specialize in specific types of labor and then trade for their own needs or wants rather than trying to produce everything they need or want on their own. It is also demonstrates trade is most efficient when coordinated through a medium of exchange or money. Economic laws dedu- deduced in this way tend to be a very general and not give specific results. They can say profits incentivize incentivize new competitors to enter a market, but not necessarily how money will do so. Still, they do provide key insights for understanding the behavior of financial markets, governments, economics, and human decisions behind these entitles. And economists employ many different methods of research from logical deduction to pure data mining. Economics theory often progresses through deductive process including mathematical logic where the implications of specific human activities are considered in a means end and framework. And the two of the most common in macroeconomics are monetary and Keynesian. Monetarists are a branch of Keynesian economics that argue that a stable monet- monetary policy. This is the course of managing the economy and otherwise often have generally favorable views on free markets as the best way to allocate resources. In contrast, other key Keynesian approaches favorable and policy by the activist government in order to manage irrational market swimming, swimming and resourcing resections and believe that markets often don't work well at allocating resources on their own work. And next, the economic indicators. Economic indicators are report that detail a country economics performance in a specific area. These reports are usually published periodically by government agencies or private organizations, and they often have a considerable effect on stocking, fixed income, and forex markets when they are released. And they are released, the economic indicators in these pictures, the types of economies on the basis of level of development, on the basis of ownership and control. These are the two types of economies. On the basis of level of development, the three types: capitalist, socialist, and mixed economy. And on the basis of ownership and control, the economy is developed and developing economy. This is the two types of economy. And the economy, they can also be very useful for investors to judge how economic conditions will move markets and to guide investment indicators and decisions. And below are some of the major US economic reporters and indicators used for fundamental analysis. And next point is gross domestic product is called GDP. GDP is considered by many to be the broadest measure of a country's economic performance. It represents the total market value of all finished goods and services product proceed in a country in a given year or another period. The Bureau of Economic Analysis is issues a regular report during the later part of the need each month. And the GDP, many investors, analysts, and traders don't actually focus on the final annual GDP report, but rather on the two reports issued a few months before. The advanced GDP report and the preliminary report. This is because the final GDP picture is frequently considered a lagging indicator, meaning it can confirm a trend, but it can predict a trend. In comparison, to the stock market. The GDP report is somewhat similar to the income statement a public company reports at year end. And the next point is retail sales reported by the Department of Consumer during the middle of each month. The retail sales report is very closely watched and measures the total receipts on dollar value of all merchandise sold in store. And the report estimates the total merchandise sold by taking sample data from retailers scoring and company. And this company and the country is a figure that serve as a proxy of consumer spending levels because consumer spending represents more than two-thirds of GDP. This report is very useful to argue the gear of the country, economy's general directions. Also because the report's data is balanced based on the previous month sales. It is a timely indicator. The content in the retail sales report can cause above moral volatility in the market, and information in the report can also be used to gauge inflationary pressures that affect per Fed rates. This is the retail sale. And the next is the diagram economic sale of scale. This is also the two types internal economies, highlighting the advantages that a company obtains due to the use of modern techniques. And the next is external economies. External economies are the advantage that a company obtains because of external factor. And the next is industrial production. Industrial production are industrial production report released monthly by the Federal Reserve reports on the changes in the production of factories, mines, and utilities. In the US, one of the closely watched measures included in this report is the capacity utilization ratio, which estimates the protection of productive capacity that is being used rather than standing idle in the economy. And it is preferable for a country to see increasing values of production and capacity utilization at high levels. Typically, capacity utilization in the range of 82 to 85% is considered tight and can increase the likelihood of price increases or supply shortage in the near term. Levels below 80% are usually interpreted as showing slack in the economy, which might increase the likelihood of a recession. In the next, the type of economic system, the in employment data. In employment data, the Bureau of Labor Statistic release employment data in a report called the known form payrolls on the first Friday of each month. Six generally sharp increases in employment im- indicate is prosperous economic growth. This is the employment of data and likewise potential contractions may be imminent if significant decreases occur. While these are general trends, it is important to consider the current position of the economy. For example, strong employment data could cause a position, cause a currency to appreciate if the country has recently been through economic troubles because the growth could be a sign of economic health and recovery. Conversely, in an overheated economy, high employment can also lead to inflation, which in this situation can could move the currency downward. This is the employment data. And next, the employment data, the type of economic system. In the type of economic system, shows societies have organized their resources in many different ways through history, deciding how to use available means to achieve individual and common ends. And the next is primitivism. Primitivism in primitive agrarian society, people tend to self produce all of their function, needs, and wants. at the level of the household or tribe. Families and tribes would build their own dwellings, grow their own crops, hunt their own game, fashion their own clothes, bake their own bread, etc. And the next, feudalism. Feudalism, later as civilizations developed economies based on production by social class emerged, such as feudalism and slavery. Slavery involved production by enslaved individuals who lacked personal freedom or rights and were treated as the property of their owner. This is the feudalism. And the next, capitalism. Capitalism emerged with the advent of individualization. Capitalism is defined as a system of production whereby business owners, entrepreneurs, or capitalists organize productive resources, including tools, workers, and raw materials to produce goods for some sale in order to make a profit and not for personal consumption. And the next is socialism. Socialism is a form of cooperative production economy. Economic socialism is a system of production where there is a limit and hybrid private ownership of the means of production or other types of productive property and profits and losses is not the sole determinant used to establish who engages in production, what to produce, and how to produce it. In the socialism, in the socialism, the and the this type of primitives and the socialism and of the communism. Communism is a form of command economy whereby nearly all economic activities is centralized and through the coordination of state sponsored central planners. A society's theoretical economic strength can can be marshaled to the benefit of the society at large. In this types all types of natural managerial economics, pragmatic, art and science economic, microeconomic, use macroeconomics, multidisciplinary, perspective, normative discipline, management oriented, parametric, permetric. And these types of economic system. First of all, we see the permi- permi- permitivism and federalism. And the permitism is this economic system is defined by very little division of labor and resulting low productivity. A high degree of vertical integration of production processes within the household or village for what goods are produced, and relationship based reciprocal exchange within and between families or tribes rather than market tra- transactions. In such a primitive society, the concepts of private property and decision making over resources often apply at a more collective level of families, and tribal ownership of productive resources and wealth in common. And these are the feudal feudalism. Feudalism was a system where a class of nobility known as lords owned all of the lands and leased out small prickles to present to farm with present handing over much of their production to the lord. In return, the lord offered the peasant relative safety and security, including a place to live and food to eat. And the capitalism in capitalism, workers are hired in return for wages. Owners of land and natural resources are paid rents and royalties for the use of the and resources and the communism and the socialism. Socialism is the segment of society band together and to share these functions, and production decisions are made through a collective decision making process and within the economy. Some but not all economic functions are shared. These might include any strategic economic functions that affect all citizens. These would include public safety, police, fire, national defense, resources allocation, and education, and more. These are often paid for through in income or use taxes levied on the remaining practical independent economic functions, individual citizen, independent businesses, foreign trade, pattern, etc. These are the social types of economy. And the last communism executing this in reality. Reality is far more difficult than a theory in that it requires no conflicting or competing entities within the society to challenge the allocation of resources. Note that in instance of economic communism in the modern era have also been coupled with an authoritarian form of government, although this needs to not be the case in theory. And the modern type of contains certain elements of capitalism, such as a market mechanism, and also some centralized control over some resources. If more of the economic control is centralized in ever increasing ways, it may even naturally become more akin to communism. Note that socialism as an economic system can and does occur under various forms of government, from of democratic socialism of the Nordic countries to more authoritarian stands found elsewhere. And the end is this picture is though no shows all of these economics. At the end of this topic, we see the references is there. These are the references, your help in all about these topics. Read, knowledge gain, and the end of this topic, some multiple choice question is there. First question is, what do you mean by the supply of goods? First is stock available for sale. Second, total stock in the warehouse. The actual production of the goods and the quantity of the goods offered for sale at a particular price per unit of time. And what is the answer? Answer is quantity of the goods offered for sale at a particular price per unit of time. This is the answer. And the next question is, what do you mean by under conditions of a perfect competitions in the product market? MRP is equal to VMP, MRP greater than VMP, VMP greater than MRP, and none of the above. What is the answer of this question? The question's answer is MRP is equal to VMP. This is the answer of this question. And the next question, which of the following is the rational that the law of demand defines? In this options, income and price of a commodity, price and quantity of a commodity, income and quantity demanded, and quantity demanded and quantity supplied. What is the answer of this question? The answer of this question is price and quantity of a commodity. And next question is, what do you mean by a mixed economy? Modern and traditional industries, public and private sectors, and foreign and democratic investments, and commercial and subsistence farming. The answer of this question is public and private sectors. This is the answer of this question. And next question is our screen. What do you mean by demand of a commodity? First is desire of a commodity, need of the commodity, quantity demand of that commodity, quantity that consumer are able and willing to buy at various prices during any particular period of time. The answer of this question is quantity that consume are able and willing to buy at various prices during any particular period of time. And next question is, starting from the time to independence, why did India follow a planned economy? First, India followed a 5-year plan and required an outlook directive principles of Indian constitution indicate the planned vision of India. There was no indication what's over from the 5-year plans regarding how much of each and every good and services is to be produced. Choose the correct statement from the given option. Only second and third, first and third, and all of the above. The answer of this question is second and third. Second and third is the right answer. And the question, what do you mean by gross national product? The total value of goods and services produced in the country, the total value of all the transactions in the country, the desperation in the total value of goods and services produced in the country, and the total value of goods and services produced in the country, and the net factor income from above. The answer is the last option D, the total value of goods and services produced in the country and the net factor income from abroad. At the next question, which of the following is the reason for the decline in the child sex ratio in India? Low fertility rate, female foeticide, incentive for a boy girl child from the government, and none of the above. The answer of this question is female foeticide is the answer of this question. And the next question is, what factors are taken into consideration while revising the property line product periodically? By conducting a survey every 5 years, survey carried out by National Sample Survey Organization, both A and B, none of the above. The right answer of this question is both A and B is the answer of this question. And the last question of this topic is in India, which banks institutions have the highest share in the distribution of credit to agriculture and allied activities? Cooperative bank, regional rural bank, commercial banks, and microfinance institution. The answer of this question is commercial bank. This is the right answer of this question. This is the all about the topic, meaning, concept of economics, and the end of this topic. Thank you.